at 10 on Channel 5.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer sitting in tonight for Dan Rather. The Reagan administration, which has done little to hide its support of rebels fighting Nicaragua's Sandinista regime, found itself today the defendant in an unusual court case, a case in which the White House vows to ignore the verdict, whatever it may be. Robert Shackney has details.
Nicaragua filed suit in the International Court of Justice today, the World Court, charging American support for the CIA's covert war violates international law. In Washington, Nicaragua's Foreign Minister Miguel de Soto denounced the American decision, rejecting World Court jurisdiction.
The international community cannot continue to tolerate, for the sake of international peace and security in the world, for a country to self-proclaim itself the accuser, the judge, and the executioner.
Even though the United States went before the World Court to gain condemnation of Iran during the hostage crisis, the State Department today held to its position that the United States had a legal right, if it wished to refuse to accept the jurisdiction of the court.
We had a concern that one of the parties might exploit the situation and attempt to use it as a forum for propaganda.
Publicly, the United States has not admitted what officials privately concede, that the CIA, using a freighter stationed offshore, directed the mining of Nicaragua's principal seaports of Corinto and Puerto Sandino since February. A number of foreign cargo ships have been damaged. While U.S. aid is supposed to be secret, Congress is still openly debating whether to keep paying for the covert operation, including the support of an army of 18,000 anti-government guerrillas. The dispute about the mining and the refusal to submit the issue to the World Court raised new questions today in Congress.
The administration has demonstrated that it knows that its policies can't withstand an inquiry by an impartial, objective international body.
These elements of President Reagan's Central American policy border on sheer lunacy. The mining of harbors is an act of war.
Up to this point, I have contended the Reagan administration's secret war against Nicaragua has been morally indefensible. Today, it is clear that it's legally indefensible as well.
The public outcry about the mining and now the issue of the World Court has put the administration very much in the defensive. One administration official says the new argument may have torpedoed the entire covert operation, that there's a good chance that Congress now will cut off any further money for the not-so-secret war. Robert Shackney, CBS News, Washington.
Democratic presidential candidate Jesse Jackson today called the mining of the Nicaraguan harbors very close to an act of war and said he has decided to go to Nicaragua within a month to meet with members of the leftist Sandinista government there. The Soviet Union charged today that the Reagan administration is trying to use the Olympics for political purposes and called for an emergency meeting of the International Olympic Committee. This comes after a week-long campaign criticizing arrangements for the Olympics in the Soviet press. Jerry Bowen reports all this raises speculation the Soviets may boycott the Los Angeles Games.
Soviet athletes helped inaugurate the Olympic shooting range in Southern California today, but it's still a question whether the entire team will appear for the Summer Games. A growing question after the latest barrage of charges that the Reagan administration is interfering with the Olympics, playing politics.
For the only area in which we have been unforthcoming is in the assignment of a particular individual as an Olympics attaché, Soviet Olympics attaché.
The State Department rejected the Soviet selection of Oleg Yamurshkin last month on the grounds he was a KGB agent. Soviet Olympic officials who toured Los Angeles last December are still upset over that. And today they made it clear they are outraged by the Ban the Soviets coalition, a group which picketed the Soviets during their visit and plans more protests during the Olympic Games. Most annoying is the group's plan to recruit defectors.
Simply to assist and encourage those who do want to defect, to offer them shelter, assistance, safety, and whatever legal assistance they might need.
The Soviets also charge the administration is violating the Olympic Charter by requiring Russian athletes and officials to apply for visas, a surprising charge to some U.S. Olympic officials.
When our countrymen visit there in an official way, they require the same list.
Late today, organizers of the Olympic Games in Los Angeles said they'd like less rhetoric and more action.
We'd like to bring all the nations together, peaceful purposes, and let the athletes get on the field of play and stop all this dialogue.
Even before the new charges, Ubroth was planning a trip to Moscow to stress the importance of a Soviet presence in the Games. The Soviets will make their decision next month. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The Space Shuttle astronauts are short on fuel but plan one last stab tomorrow at the job they went into space to do. They'll try one more time to reel in a broken satellite from space, repair it, and put it back into orbit. Meanwhile, all is going fine for the shuttle's B team. The 3,000 honeybees on board had no engineering problems, either buzzing around in zero gravity or building their honeycombs in space. And CBS News Today got a look at a never-before-seen bit of the space program. Friday's spectacular shower of sparks over Hawaii, produced when the shuttle's big external tank re-entered the atmosphere at about 17,000 miles an hour.
Here in the forbidding wastes and searing heat of the Australian outback, the prototype of a new American luxury car has raised the benchmark by which other such cars must now be judged. And here at speed along the narrow, twisting roads and wide open autobahns of Germany, that same car has served notice that it can measure up to world performance expectations. This is the new Buick Electra. We pushed it to the limit. We punished it until it was ready for the toughest test of all. You. You are the final judge. You are the one we have to please. Put the new Buick Electra to the test. We have. Now it's your turn. Buick, the official car of the 1984 Olympic Games.
The Federal Education Department said today that it wants a social service club, a group founded by Jesse Jackson, Operation Push Excel, to return more than $700,000 in federal grant money because the money was not spent properly. An Education Department spokesman said there were no allegations of fraud or misconduct against Jackson or anyone else, but there were questions of deficient record keeping. Jackson today called the government's report an improvement over its original request for even more money back. But he was angry about the timing of today's call on the eve of the Pennsylvania primary.
The government report, we've known about it for several days. I discussed it with our lawyers over the course of the weekend. So the timing of these reports suggests something very, very nasty and almost conspiratorial. To me, it was positive because we now are alleged to owe about 1/3 of what was the original preliminary report.
The Education Department's call for a refund came as Jackson, Walter Mondale, and Gary Hart put in their final bids for votes in tomorrow's primary in Pennsylvania. In some cases, at least, the split among Democrats torn between Hart and Mondale shapes up as a cross between a generation gap and a family feud. We have a report from Eric Ingberg.
Joe Clinton, 51. He works for the phone company in Pittsburgh and is president of his local union. He's for Mondale.
I know what he can do for the working people, and I see nothing wrong with that. The working people built this country, and they have a right to take a piece of it with them, you know.
Chris Clinton, 23, Joe's daughter. She goes to college, plans a professional career, and you guessed it, she's for Hart.
He seems almost like an intellectual to me. And he just seems like he's got it together.
A big part of what the Democratic Party contest is about this year is going on under the Clintons' roof in the suburbs of Pittsburgh.
Fritz Mondale doesn't maybe have all the fire in the world, but, you know, he's the real steady man in my book.
Walter Mondale just seems like he's just old hat. He's, you know, you've seen one politician, you've seen them all, and that's Walter Mondale.
I don't think the young people are really thinking about the issues, and they see the Kennedy-like stature, and I think they're buying that.
We're interested in the future instead of the past.
I think she's buying that image.
Their split reflects one nationwide. You can see it in the crowds and in the opinion polls. Young Democrats moving to Hart and his promise of a fresh start. Older voters embracing Mondale and the party's traditions.
How you doing? This is Joe.
Leon. Hi, Chris Clinton from Gary Hart.
Remember our last membership meeting? We talked about Mondale.
Listen, I was wondering if you found anybody else to work at the polls on Tuesday.
What divides the Clintons is really not an issue, but a vantage point.
You know, I worked out on the polls and the line crew for the telephone company, and I worked in many projects or housing plans that went up all through this section of Pittsburgh. And it was just farms and fields before. And people, young families, like myself at the time, moved in. And it was the policies, these old ideas that created these things.
Chris, soon to graduate, is tired of old faces in politics.
They just seem like they're so slow and they're just doing everything like they've always been doing it, and I don't know if they're afraid to change or if they just don't have the imagination to change.
But she worries, too.
It's kind of tough because this campaign now is almost like a class difference, you know, the workers on one hand and the professionals on the other, and, you know, which is really a shame because it shouldn't be that way.
While some experts see long-term trouble ahead for the Democrats in the generational split, Joe Clinton has no complaints beyond the traditional one for a dad.
She's using my Mondale car and my Mondale gas to go out and tack up heart signs all over the neighborhood.
Eric Engberg, CBS News, Pittsburgh.
Supreme Court Justice Thurgood Marshall took a rare public swipe tonight at some of his Supreme Court colleagues, including Chief Justice Warren Burger. He didn't mention any names, but referring to Burger's recent criticism of lawyers who make last-minute appeals to keep their clients from being executed, Justice Marshall said, "Lawyers who help death row inmates deserve our gratitude, not our scorn." In a speech prepared for delivery at New York University Law School tonight, he said lawyers making those last-minute appeals serve two crucial functions: preventing the execution of an innocent or improperly convicted person, and making the public confront the reality of the system of punishment we condone.
The good life in America means reaching for your dream.
Millions of Americans will enjoy their leisure years more because of the Equitable. We're one of the nation's largest managers of pension funds. America's keeper of dreams.
We are the Equitable. Yes, we'll help you live the good life. We are the Equitable. We can help your dreams come true.
Quadran, not another personal computer, but enhancement products to make your computer better. Add Quadram enhancements to expand functions and memory, or produce graphics on your IBM PC or Apple computer. Add Quadram for phone communications, faster printing, and brilliant color. Quadram enhancement products expand the capabilities of any personal computer. Quadram, we don't make computers, we make them better.
Well, here's a story you don't often get from government agencies. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission has been studying problems of the nuclear industry and has concluded the commission itself may be part of the problem. Adding to other faults of the nuclear industry, the report says are commission rules that require mounds of paperwork, but which are not strict enough to ensure that companies which are allowed to build nuclear plants are competent to manage them. Federal law enforcement officials today announced what they call their biggest case yet in cracking a drug ring tied to organized crime and that funneled drugs from Italy through a chain of U.S. pizza parlors. Rita Braver reports.
The government says the operation was masterminded by Sicilians and brought $1,650 million worth of heroin into the United States over the past 5 years. The alleged American kingpin was Salvatore Toto Catalano, linked by the government to organized crime and owner of this bakery and pizza restaurant in Queens. In fact, so many of the dealings in this case took place in pizza parlors that federal officials have dubbed it the Pizza Connection. To try to avoid detection, it's charged the Sicilians sent the drugs to family members who owned pizza parlors in 5 small Midwest cities. The drugs were then driven to New York and from there distributed to major metropolitan areas. Using legitimate brokerage houses and banks as well as couriers, the money was allegedly laundered through Swiss bank accounts.
A process of heavy intelligence efforts, the use of the most sensitive lawful techniques, made possible the identification of a new group of Sicilian nationals participating with traditional La Cosa Nostra groups in the United States.
Federal officials have been concerned that despite a series of major cases, heroin is still readily available on the street. They say this is the case that could make the difference. Rita Braver, CBS News, New York.
The broadcasting of the latest Richard Nixon interviews is the subject of tonight's commentary by Bill Moyers. Bill?
Bob, there's a lesson for journalists and a warning for all of us in Richard Nixon's appearance last night on 60 Minutes. He was interviewed not by a CBS journalist, but by one of his own intimates. The two of them are collaborators in producing and selling the recollections from which Sunday night's excerpt was taken. Asked what he would tell his grandchildren about Watergate, Mr. Nixon said he would tell them it was a botched-up attempt to break in and debug the Democratic National Committee. that it was illegal and wrong and stupid, and that the reaction to it at the White House was stupidity at the very highest. That's so as far as it goes, but Watergate was much more than Mr. Nixon was pressed to admit last night. It was a conspiracy to sabotage the constitutional system, and it was inspired by a pervasive mentality among White House officials who looked upon politics as warfare in which anything goes. If you want a sense of its scope, read again those charges of high crimes and misdemeanors which had been drawn up in Congress for Mr. Nixon's impeachment if he had not resigned in order to avoid standing trial. A spirit of lawlessness pervaded the highest councils of government, and we'll forget it only at our peril. This is the warning for all of us. It's no accident that in the novel 1984, Big Brother, the all-powerful state, banishes history to the memory hole. Citizens are made to remember only what they're taught to remember, and the content of their memory is changed overnight. Memory, you see, is indispensable to freedom. When there is nothing against which to measure what we're told today, we're at the mercy of those who destroy the past and publish new versions. The lesson for journalists is that truth is as much our business as news, and that means asking the questions ourselves, digging into the record, and comparing opinion to evidence. Otherwise, there's no context for the news. What is happening right now on this screen, this very moment, becomes our sole criterion for judgment, and all our yesterdays have little relevance.
When you need a laxative, who do you trust?
In this job, X-Lax. It works when I want it to.
And who do you trust for gentle relief? Who?
X-Lax.
X-Lax pills help get your body's natural rhythm going again. Your own system takes over to provide gentle relief overnight.
For my family, it's always X-Lax. I'm not about to try anything else. It's our family friend.
X-Lax helps your body help itself.
That's right. Helps your body help itself.
This is Mr. Goodrich, and did you know there are ways you can tell if your GM car's shock absorbers are okay? For one, check your tires. If they show unusual wear, like cupping at one spot, it can mean worn shocks. Make your car hard to handle. So see Mr. Goodwrench. I have the right equipment, training, and genuine GM Blue Line replacement shocks available. They have a lifetime limited warranty.
It's another of Mr. Goodwrench's good ways.
To keep that great GM feeling with genuine GM parts.
A new twist to an old effort in Beirut today. Representatives of Lebanon's warring factions agreed on a military disengagement plan along the city's Green Line and in the mountains southeast of the capital. A government spokesman called this a first step toward ending Lebanon's 9-year-old war. Administration sources said today that the United States is planning to play a new China card by inviting Peking to become a part of new arms control proposals. Bill McLaughlin has the story.
CBS News has learned that when President Reagan goes to China later this month, he will propose the establishment of a hotline between Peking and Washington. The president will also make proposals designed to draw China into nuclear arms control talks with the U.S. at a time when U.S.-Soviet talks are frozen. It is believed that the Chinese would view the hotline as putting them on the same plane as the Soviet Union. President Reagan will also try to open the door to nuclear non-proliferation talks with the Chinese by trying to convince China not to share nuclear technology with Iraq and Pakistan, both of which are trying to build nuclear weapons. The most sensitive area of the talks will center on atmospheric testing of nuclear weapons. China has not tested in the atmosphere since 1980, but refuses to relinquish the right to do so. But China has hinted to the U.S. that it would test nuclear weapons underground if it had the technology to do so. And Mr. Reagan is expected to explore the possibility of sharing that technology with China.
The point may not have been missed at the White House that by doing all this in an election year, President Reagan will look like a man of peace, a leader who can deal with a major communist power on the nuclear issue. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, the State Department.
Oddly enough, the way things have been going lately in China, the Chinese may be more interested in chatting about one of Mr. Reagan's longtime favorite subjects, the virtues of the free enterprise system. If you find that hard to believe, just listen to this report from David Jackson.
There's a revolution in China, and it's making people rich. Just take a look. This house belongs to a peasant, a field worker, Wang Yushuan. He owns it because of an economic revolution that uses the profit motive to fill gaps left by socialism. The 5-year-old responsibility system by which people own private plots and have sideline jobs is beginning to pay off. Getting rich is okay. After the Wangs finish assigned work in commune fields and factories, they can tend their own plot, and what they don't eat, they can sell for a profit. Beyond that, Wang is a woodworker on the side, and we're told his talents are much in demand. He and his wife live here with their son, Wang's sister, and his mother. For the first time, he says, there's plenty of room for all, and plenty to eat. Feng Yeming is another example of the new peasant. He was the only one home of a family of 6 when we stopped by. The others were out making money. They all used to be crammed into 3 rooms. Now, it's 8 rooms, river view. They, too, have a private garden plot and some livestock of their own. It all spells profit. And it's sanctioned in a country that used to preach against private ownership as bourgeois. Not anymore. These people were reluctant to say how rich they are. Commune and government leaders stood just out of camera range. But officials claim that a lucky few have parlayed private enterprise into personal incomes of $50,000 a year. Make no mistake, China has not forsaken socialism or the communist ideal, but the economy needed a spark. So now, getting rich is the thing to do, and it's made quite a difference in some country villages. This narrow shopping street has been here for 1,000 years. It was built during the Sung Dynasty. But the products on sale today are modern by Chinese standards. The new economic reforms have given peasants money to spend, and they want to buy consumer goods. It used to be that peasants who could afford television sets or radios trekked to the cities and hoped some were available. Not anymore. Goods are beginning to come to the people. With extra money in peasant pockets, small village shops bustle with activity. There's even room for a little vanity. To be sure, there are problems with the system, problems of supply and demand, squabbles among enterprises that bring production to a halt. And be aware that this commune is not the norm. It is very successful, a model. The vast majority of rural Chinese are still very poor. But officials insist that even they are better off now with the new system, and that by using it, they can catch up. For most, it will take a long time, but there is some progress, as Wang and Feng and others will tell you. Perhaps to the consternation of old-line party theoreticians who see a touch of capitalism working where socialism did not. David Jackson, CBS News, Chi'i Commune, China.
Mom, he's putting A1 steak sauce on his hamburger.
My dear nephew, what is hamburger? Chopped ham? No, it's chopped steak. And what's better on steak than A1? A1 makes hamburgers taste like steak burgers. Take a bite. A1's herbs and spices blend with the meat's natural juices.
Delicious.
Sure.
It's really juicy and tastier. Best hamburger you'll ever have. Because it's a steak burger.
Hey, your uncle's steak burger.
A1 makes hamburgers taste like steak burgers.
They say I've got great hands, but when it comes to managing money, I'm all thumbs.
A lot of people who are good at making money are not that good at managing it. So at Money, M-O-N-Y, we help you plan the tax-sheltered investments, savings, and insurance programs you need for now and later on.
I give advice to the lovelorn every day, but the way I manage money would break your heart.
Money helps you manage money, so your money will do as well as you do.
Here comes the most advanced piece of machinery in shaving history. The new Norelco Rotatract, the razor that challenges the world. Every blade, every electric, every shaving instrument ever made. In closeness, comfort, speed, and quality. It's the shaving machine you've been waiting for, or your money back. Advanced technology Rotatract razors. The first to challenge the world. New from Norelco.
This is the night of the 56th Annual Academy Awards ceremony, and Terry Drinkwater reports it marks a good year for women as portrayed in the movies.
If it is true that the movies tell us who we are, or have been, or will be, this was a very curious year. One nominee for Best Picture was in praise of astronauts, a subject that didn't do very well at the box office or the ballot box. Another told how the kids of the 60s are coping with divorce and disillusionment in the 80s.
I've been out there dating for 20 years. I don't know, sometimes I think I don't even want a man anymore.
And if you look closely at the pictures the Oscar nominees draw of men and women this year, it's the women who have the heroic roles. In terms of endearment, nominated for Best Picture, Shirley MacLaine and Deborah Winger were both nominated for Best Actress.
The mother lives for the daughter. The daughter, more or less, thinks of the mother as her guide and mentor. It's a love story between a mother and daughter.
In Silkwood, Meryl Streep stands up to the establishment. In Educating Rita, Julie Walters is determined to get an education and get ahead.
I'll make a decision. I'll choose.
And in Testament, Jane Alexander copes with strength and dignity with the bomb and death.
All the women are winners. They're playing roles that are winners or heroines. The men in all the leading categories are all losers.
There is Robert Duvall in Tender Mercies, a country singer trying to redeem himself from a wasted life. There are Albert Finney and Tom Courtenay, both nominated for The Dresser, about hands on the fringe of British theater. There is Tom Conti in Reuben Reuben, a drunk and a befuddled poet.
Could you just point out the nymphomaniacs to me, please?
And there's Michael Caine in Educating Rita, a drunk and a befuddled professor. Even the favorite for Best Supporting Actor, Jack Nicholson, is no great catch.
I think we're gonna have to get drunk.
Times change, of course, and the hero may make a comeback. But tonight, at least, one of these losers is bound to be an Oscar winner. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, Hollywood.
And that's the news. Dan Rather will be back tomorrow. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News, New York. Good night.
To the millions who use paint remover on varnished furniture, I have some advice. Stop immediately.
But I've always used it. Use Formby's Furniture Refinisher. Some paint removers raise the grain and strip the wood's beauty, and it's hard work.
Formby's easily dissolves old varnish, lacquer, and shellac. No sanding, no scraping.
With Formby's Furniture Refinisher, the wood's beauty actually reappears.
Homer Formby. No one knows wood as good.
Try my tung oil wood stains and finishes.
Oh, woeful arthritis sufferer, your quest for the right medicine is age-old. You need the power of aspirin for your pain, but you want protection for your stomach. Introducing Cosprin. All aspirin inside so it attacks your pain. A protective coating outside so it guards against stomach upset. Imagine an arthritis medicine that's all you've been seeking. Cosprin for temporary relief of minor arthritis pain.
What does it take to excel?
I know the deadline. You'll get it tomorrow.
It takes speed, reliability, economy. It takes express mail next day service from the post office. Our 2-pound pack is just $9.35 overnight, and we deliver over 95,000 packages on time every day.
Yes, we got them. Oh, and Jerry, thanks.
Express mail service. We deliver excellence for less.
I'm Bill Curtis. Tomorrow we'll talk with Liberace, and in our 8:30 half hour, the Academy Award winners. Wake up to what's happening on the CBS Morning News.
This is CBS.
In our news tonight,